hop timed right. So apparently Connor is directionally challenged this evening and is looking the other way. I don't know why. I have a feeling there's something wrong. Well, I know there's something wrong, but that's neither here nor there. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 46 of the Gene Pool Variety Hour. My name is Sean. I'm the old guy of the group. I'm the dad of this podcast, and the guy over on the other screen is...
Everyone ride the meat bicycle.
Okay. All right. And you are?
Hey guys, what is up? I am Connor McKay, also known as Quillmeister, and I am that big old balding dude's son.
You're the balding dude's son? I'm not the one going bald. You're the bald one.
Potato.
I'm the dude's bald son. That's the correct terminology. Anyway, look, we hang out, we talk about random movies, we do a geek question, we talk about whatever we've been doing lately, nerd-wise, game-wise, life-wise. We have run into a pattern of hanging out and chasing way too many chickens and taking way too long to finish this podcast. So I have instituted a timer. So I'm giving us about an hour to get this done. Do you realize that last week's episode was an hour and 46 minutes long? Just the podcast part, just the stuff that went up for the podcast was an hour 46.
Nice.
Yeah, that can't keep happening, man. We gotta we
I count that as a win, you know.
We gotta tighten this.
It's a father and son bonding, you know.
We can do that anytime
over long distance,
but not for the podcast. So anyway, so we're gonna do a geek question. We're gonna talk about it was not a random movie. We picked this one. You picked this one. Well, I kind of picked it out of a list that you picked last time. So we're gonna do that, and it's an old family favorite. So I the Krieg thing kind of threw me off, man.
So I finally found a use for the psycho mask, and it was worth it.
So anyway, I guess why don't we just jump in? Let's talk a little bit about what's been going on. You know, what have you been playing? What have you been doing? How's the weather been up there in Delaware?
Weather has actually been sunny and warm. You know, it's been getting up in the 60s. And
that's crazy because I saw your window was open a while ago.
Oh yeah, and officially, the last mound of snow from February has melted. We are officially heading into spring.
Wow,
but
that's
then
nice.
again, Nikki and Jeff, my supervisor at work, still warn me that we sometimes get snow even in April.
Yep. I would think so. I mean, good grief, dude. We got a snowstorm Memorial Weekend in North Dakota one time. I mean, that's the last weekend in May. That's the weekend before June. Okay, and we got a snowstorm. Got softball games called off because of it. So.
No, wait, that's Labor Day. Oh no, wait. You know what weekend is Dragon Con? That's Labor Day weekend, right?
That's Labor Day weekend. Right. So
for some reason I keep getting those two switched.
Right. Okay. So
anyway,
we're going to keep it super tight tonight, and
that's
tell
what
me.
You said.
Oh.
You walked into that one. You handed me that one.
Family friendly.
Oh, but come on.
So. Okay, have you been doing anything interesting? I mean, not necessarily work stuff. Just, I mean, you've been doing any fun stuff? Any games, any specific games, anything like that?
Honestly, because of work stuff, I haven't been able to because I've worked the past 2 Saturdays in a row. But thankfully, whatever God may live in the sky, has deigned me to not work tomorrow.
Okay. Well, that's great. So what are you going to do tonight then?
Tonight I'm going to hang out with Nikki, and then I'm going to play Monster Hunter until I pass out in my crappy recliner.
All right. Good plan. All right. So as far as stuff on my end, again, playing Destiny, working on the season. I got my Stasis T-shirt in the mail the other day. Whoa! I hate it when it does that.
Dang it, Dad.
Listen.
Are we already getting in? Oh man, time does fly. Hey, let's start roll for credits, everyone.
Here's the thing. Okay, all right. PSA, public service announcement about how crappy Kindle Fires are. Sorry, Amazon, they suck. I've got a Kindle Fire and I use a Touch Portal app on it instead of. Oh, there's a chicken. Instead of a Stream Deck because it's cheaper. The app was $12. And so it's a touch screen where you can touch and you can change screens on the stream and put in sound effects like we do and all that kind of stuff. It's a touch screen, right? Touch screens are supposed to respond to your finger, right? Or some screens will use a specific kind of pin, right?
Yeah.
When my headphone cord brushes the screen, it will press a button. That's what just happened.
It's because there's so much finger oil on it.
No, because the only time I ever use this thing because it's so bad is tonight. It's the only time I ever use it is for Touch Portal for this. So anyway, so I got my Stasis T-shirt for Destiny. So we've been doing that, but last week we're kind of branching out. Our Friday night group has gotten a little bit smaller. Some stuff's happening. Not everybody's getting on, and so last week we played. Outsiders. What was that new
demo,
beta that's
right?
out? Yeah, the demo. So we played that last week, and then tonight we're playing Borderlands 3. Mitch had gotten it and had played it a little bit. Brandon had played it, had not played the third one. He loved the first one and the second one, but he went ahead and bought it. So he started a new character. Mitch is going to play Flak, which is the character he was playing, but I don't think it's very high level. My Zane...
May I join?
I don't care. My Zane and my Moes are like level 57 and level 41, so I'm not going to play them because they're too high level. And I just started a new Moes today, so I'm going to start a new Moes and play it from ground up with them. And so we're going to do that
Moes
tonight.
is so boring.
Moes is... You know what? I thought so. The Moes character is super boring. Absolutely, she's the most.
But the action skill is one of the best.
She and Amara are the two most boring ones to me in the game. But as far as her action,
Amara is hilarious.
As far as her action skill goes, Moses' action skill with the mech is awesome, especially when you get it leveled up. Zane is the most fun to play just for the humor aspect, but his skills aren't as good, I don't think, especially once they rank up. Mose,
they're very diverse, but they're not very useful in a way.
Well, they're very diverse, but they're not very powerful. Man, when Mose ranks up and levels up and gets those skills up there pretty high, dude, she can wreck with that mech. And she's also good for co-op because one of the other players can hop on her back and go,
Oh,
so
Flak is also really good for co-op because because one of his skills allows his pets to revive you and allies.
Okay, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing tonight, and then once we're done with that, I'm gonna hop back on Destiny and do some more grinding for the season and stuff because my light level is getting up there high enough, and I've started playing a lot more Destiny with my clan that I joined. It's a good group of folks. And I played some
Monster Hunter.
Yeah, no.
What was that?
I don't know what that was,
I didn't
but
hear anything.
I can clearly tell you that I said no. That was pretty clear. So,
No to what?
So that's what's going on. I'm trying to think if there's anything. There was something else that I wanted to talk about tonight that was kind of cool, and I forgot what it was. So I'm gonna have to just let it go because I'm old and my memory's gone.
Your weird beard?
No. No, it had nothing to do with my weird beard. It doesn't have anything to do with my patchy beard either. So, anyway, yeah, that's kind of all that's going on with me nerd wise. We are going up to the mountains in a couple of weeks. It's just gonna be me and your mom and Mitch are going up. We're taking Luke Sunday, almost to the Tennessee border, and he's gonna hit the Appalachian Trail. And just go for a few weeks, and just hike.
A few weeks.
I think so. So that's
the
his
App-
plan.
the Appalachian Trail.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's the same one that the path that practically runs up the entire West
Whoa.
Coast.
No, not West Coast. That's the Pacific Trail. That's the Pacific Coast Trail. That's the PCT. The AT is over here, Tennessee, up the eastern side, not western side. You're thinking, anyway.
Oh, the eastern side.
Yeah, and I mean,
And,
he's not going to do the whole thing. My goodness. No, he can't do the whole thing.
Yeah, but still, for a couple of weeks.
Well,
I mean, I know Luke's an outdoorsman, but I don't.
Oh, he's got it. He's got his route mapped out. He's already got places for us to send food packages to him, because that's the way they do it when you're doing through hiking. And dude, that's what he does. That's what he wants to do is through hiking, which is basically start at one end and go to the other, however long it takes. You have to go to town every now and then to resupply. Or there's an online app thing that you can do where you can order food and they'll send it to specific places along the trail. So that's kind of so he's going to do that.
How do they keep people from stealing other people's food?
No. I mean, it goes to like a store or something in town or the post office in that town. You tell them which town to send it to, and then you go and you pick it up. Right? No, they don't just go drop it off on the trail somewhere with your name on it and expect people not to mess with it. So anyway, so it's just some interesting stuff going on down here, but nothing earth shattering.
It's pretty boring up here.
Well, yeah. Well,
other than the routine wedding stuff,
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how dance schedules, cosplay options, centerpieces, a flower arch, a dress, a tux,
and just common wedding stuff, huh? Cosplay outfits, right? Okay, gotcha.
Dad. That one was just a mess with you. You're not gonna cosplay at my wedding.
Oh, you dang right! I'm not gonna cosplay at your wedding.
If anything, I'm gonna cosplay at our wedding.
So, all right. So we're gonna move on. That's kind of what's been going on with us. I got any other major stuff going on. So why don't we just jump right in, dude? And let's do the geek question. I don't have any.
Right in.
So we're doing. Is that where we want to go? We want to go to the geek question. You ready?
Geek question.
Right.
Geek question right now.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Thank you for not saying anything. So, all right.
I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want them answered immediately.
You can't not do it, can
That was
you?
close.
You can't not do it.
It's become a thing. Every time I hear, I'm going to try and upgrade my Schwarzenegger impression.
You've made it a thing. I didn't make it a thing. You made it.
I know.
All right.
I know.
So
It's
you're
still
the
a thing, though.
You're the geek question guy. What's the geek question?
All right. As a kid or just growing up, what was a myth, legend, or fable that fascinated you?
Okay. You always answer.
For me, if it was the story of King Arthur, in a sense of the Round Table.
Yeah.
They were just such classic stories of and honestly, they were easy for me to understand. Being on the spectrum, sometimes it was hard to understand exactly why this person felt this way or why this person did that thing when I couldn't see the person. The stories of King Arthur, you could clearly see. Arthur was the good guy. Morgana was the bad guy. Mordred was the bad guy. Merlin was the spunky comic relief.
All right. Okay.
And it's just, and it spoke to me because in a lot of aspects of King Arthur, he was a regular guy, in a lot of stories of King Arthur, he was a regular common peasant in Camelot, and then he came and pulled the sword from the stone, or he was given the sword from the Lady of the Lake, and that earned him the right of being king. He was chosen by some force because they saw something in him, or he had something in him that no one else knew about, and it proved him to be a good and just leader.
Right. Well,
it's almost like he was the first underdog story.
Yeah. Well, and dude, that's what you've always gravitated towards is the underdogs. stories, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so,
Yeah.
but I mean, we kind of already know everything that happened with King Arthur, don't we? I mean, he fought the Black Knight. He fought the Killer Rabbit. He had the Trojan bunny.
That's Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That's not the same.
I mean, he
I'm-
debated
I'm talking-
aerodynamics and physics with the French. There's
Don't ruin my childhood.
English,
okay?
French, foreign relations. I fart in your general direction. So we kind of already know what happened with King Arthur, don't we? I mean,
He wasn't somehow arrested in England. I'll tell you that much.
yeah. I mean, look,
That
say
was
what you
a
will.
weird ending.
As much as I love Monty Python, oh, see, it did it again. I hate when it does
but
this.
it worked.
But at
It
least it
worked.
was the right one this time, right? So, so anyway, that's the thing. I'm like, as much as I love that movie, man, that was a weird ending. I think they just kind of couldn't figure out how to end the story, and they said, let's just have them all get arrested, whatever. That was So that was weird. Of course, when you have the opening credits that are all about Tony the Wonder Llama and all that stuff. I mean, you had to know what you were getting into.
Freaking Wonder Llama.
So, so anyway,
I need to turn the kitchen light off.
Sure.
I can't see anything. Make myself a bowl of water.
Anyway, hey, one of my favorite myths of King Arthur is of the questing beast.
okay, tell me
And,
about that. I don't know anything about that because the Arthurian legend was not big on my list. So,
It's essentially one day King Arthur and his knights were out doing patrol, protecting Camelot, and then one day they were attacked by this beast that the Merlin then called the questing beast. It was said to be the size of a horse, but covered in spots, but the neck was as long as a serpent.
okay,
And that's all I really remember about the myth, actually. It's just, but the questing beast always fascinated me because I'm like, okay, it's the size of a horse, has spots, but it has a really long neck. I'm like, that's a giraffe.
it's a giraffe. Yeah.
Yes, that's a giraffe. But that proves who's the someone back then in frickin' England of all places somehow saw a giraffe, couldn't explain it, and inscribed it in that way. And I'm
That
like,
was back when England imperialized Africa, honey.
I've just been informed that was when England imperialized Africa. Thank you, my very, very smart wife.
For Englishmen to have seen rhinoceros and giraffes.
But I was still reading about that legend is what got me started in wanting to figure out
Yeah.
what did this person see to think this existed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's what started the whole thing. And me, that's always been my biggest thing. Why?
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay.
And so that's what's always fascinated me about that stuff.
Right. Okay. So any other ones besides the Arthurian stuff? Was that the main one for you? Was there other ones?
Let's see. He of course, always Greek mythology. I love Greek mythology. That's that's always been another one of my big things. And then of course I loved the myth of Heracles.
Okay, tell me about that one because I don't know my Greek mythology like you do.
Hercules, Dad.
Oh, okay, Hercules.
They made a freaking movie about it.
Okay, well then say Hercules. Don't say Heracles.
No, but that's the thing. Heracles is the Greek myth. Hercules is the Roman myth. Disney messed it up, and I will always be upset about that.
For the non Greek mythology geeks.
I am retired. It's 2 words.
So.
I got 2 words for you, kid. I am retired.
Okay.
Research is not the right way.
I'm loving your interruptions, babe. Just quick little snipes. I love it.
So,
Anyway, but yes.
are there any other ones that really drug you down or really took you down the rabbit hole?
Let's see. Oh, werewolves. What did a person see to think a person turn into a half man, half wolf hybrid during a full moon? What did the person see to then think that?
Yeah.
And then the only thing I can think of is someone saw someone that had that hairy disease. He's where know what I'm talking about? How
I do. Yep.
That they grew hair
Genetic.
everywhere.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the only thing I can think of that could possibly lead to that. You know,
Right. Right. Okay.
Either that or someone saw a weird schmuck in the woods with a wolf pelt on on his back, howling at the moon.
It's a werewolf. No, it's just a schmuck in a coat. Yeah. Sorry. Just a schmuck. Just a schmuck in a coat.
Schmuck in a coat.
Schmuck in a coat. That's gonna be the name. That's gonna be. That's the episode title right there. A schmuck in a coat.
Schmuck in a coat.
So okay. All right. So as far as for me for that question, you know, I'm trying to think back if there were specific myths or fables that really sucked me in, and I don't really remember any. I do remember really being fascinated with things like Stonehenge and Easter Island and the and the Naztec lines and all of that stuff.
I can hear you, Dad.
Okay, I do. I mean, I remember being very fascinated with that stuff and wanting to know more about that, but not necessarily. That wasn't really a myth or a fable. That was just unknown history, right? Mysteries in history. That rhymed.
Yeah.
The closest thing to
there's a TV miniseries right there, Mysteries in History.
Yeah. Well, so that was big stuff for me. I do remember. So mine tended to be more historically based. I do remember reading a book one time, and I was younger, so I don't. I didn't do research, and of course, I got a fly flying around me here, so I'm not like. I just turned off my mic. I'm not hallucinating. I'm trying to get rid of a fly. So anyway, and it was a book that I read, and I don't know if it was historical fiction. It couldn't have been. It was probably just somebody wrote this kind of assuming that this may have been what happened. And it was a story about the origin of the Native Americans. And the story was that they had come from Siberia and up in that area over in Eurasia or in Asia. And that was when the Ice Age, when things were still frozen, when the land mass was there and they could cross the Bering Strait over into Alaska. And so they were kind of like Eskimos, the Inuits and that it was kind of the story of them coming across. And they used to come across for like their herds or whatever and then go back. But then with the ice melting or whatever, they got trapped in the United States. And I can't remember the name of the book, but it was a really good book. And I was always fascinated by that and was wondering, is that kind of really how it happened? Is that how Native Americans got into the continental, America continents of South and North America? It's kind of fascinating. So that kind of, mine were always more historically based. As far as
the Crystal Skull.
That was a fake movie that that was
you do realize that the Crystal Skull was an actual find.
Yeah, there was some kind of curse about it or whatever, supposedly. Right,
they're still finding precious stones, skulls, and crystal skulls, that are carbon dated to that era, and that were somehow manufactured in a way that even modern technology can't even replicate.
It's weird. I mean, I know. So that's the kind of stuff that fascinates me. It's more the historical mystery stuff than it is a fable or a myth. I guess if you want to talk about specific kind of myths and fables, it probably, thinking about that kind of stuff, really just started with Tolkien. when I read Tolkien and got fascinated with that whole
Magic.
genre of, you know, fantasy and magic and elves and gnomes and dwarves and all that stuff. But that wasn't really chasing down a myth, you know, other than the mythology that he created through his stories, right?
Yeah.
So, so that would probably be my answer to that question. Is it was more mysteries of throughout history of these things, these monuments that we've seen. You know, how did they get there? We have no documentation of how they were made, how they got there, all that kind of stuff. It's like there. I read an article a few years ago that they found this They did some excavation and found almost like this underground cavern. I mean, it's man-made though. You know, in China, with I want to say like 1,000 full-sized terracotta Chinese warriors statues made out of terracotta. Made out of terracotta, like the pots, like the pots, like the
terracotta
clay.
army. Yes, everyone knows about that, Dad.
I know. I'm just saying that kind of stuff is fascinating to me. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying, oh, that's something new that nobody knows about. I know it's something new. I mean, I know it's something that's pretty common knowledge now.
It's not new.
I corrected myself. I said something that everybody knows about. I'm just saying it's that kind of stuff that fascinates me, not so much Greek mythology, for example, right? So that's kind of where my myth type stuff goes. You know, I
understand, yeah.
You know, if I could have been an Indiana Jones and done stuff like that, that'd have been cool. I'd love to have done that kind of stuff. But I mean, then real life hits and you realize, okay, you really kind of have to have a job, you know? So I need to get a real job.
I have a random question for you.
Go for it.
Honestly, in your opinion, at what point do you think it becomes grave robbing or archaeology? Where is the line? You know, because they're very similar.
I think. Okay, I would think, and I could be completely. Oh, and I have some other stuff that I do want to continue that answer to my question that I forgot to say. But I, it seems to me like grave robbing is more when you're like robbing the graves of people whose family is still living, and so you're kind of disrespecting the dead, disrespecting their family, kind of thing. I think people that have been dead for 2,000-3,000 years in a pyramid, I kind of don't see that as grave robbing, because they're not doing it for profit. I think that's another thing. I think grave robbing implies that you're doing it to steal for profit, for treasure, as opposed to scientific discovery, historical discovery, you know, displays in museums, that kind of thing, right? Grave robbing to me implies people going in and breaking into tombs with people that had lots of gold and stuff and stealing the gold and stuff to go sell it and get rich. So that's to me the difference between the two. And so I also wanted to add to my answer, I've always been fascinated by the biblical stories, the Old Testament biblical stories. You know, David and Goliath, the parting of the Red Sea, you know, all of those stories that I've grown up with, that you've grown up with, that I'm reading now as I'm reading through the Bible again this year, have just fascinated me, you know? And it's one of those things where when my time comes, it's going to be one of my first questions. Hey, you got a video of that so I can see it again? I want to see that happen. I want to see that Red Sea, you know? That stuff fascinates me, and I would love to. So that's probably, and that's not, to me, of course, that's not myth or fable. That's history. I would just like to see it because it's so fantastical.
Faithful history.
So anyway, so you were going to add something.
I do actually remember growing up. You told me a theory that you heard or read or thought of about the flood. You know, about how the earth was basically surrounded up in one of the zone layers, you know. Basically there was a giant veil of water surrounding the earth and created it what I think of the term you used was a biosphere.
Yeah, almost like a terrarium, right? I mean, and there's some theories out there about that. It's fascinating.
And then And then you said that's that terrarium or biosphere helped preserve us and help us live longer, and that's why people lived to be like 200, three
Well,
hundred years old,
and there's some
why
science that
vegetation
shows.
was abundant.
Yeah, there's some science that showed that with changes in barometric pressure, things have lived longer and grow bigger. So who knows? I mean, there's theories and stuff. Can't prove it. That's why it's called faith. So, I'm good with that. Right? So, anyway, so that's the geek question. I'm good with that. I answered pretty well. I thought you answered okay. Anything else you wanted to add?
Hey,
What? Really? Come on, man. I thought. Anyway, I thought those were good answers. So to those questions.
I know.
So-
I with that, I was just messing with you.
So how about we jump into our and go talk about our movie?
Oh,
So
yes.
How about the next segment of roll for credits?
Roll for credits.
All right, so we are talking about obviously the movie that's on our screen right here on the stream. We're talking about the 2001 Disney animated movie Atlantis: The Lost Empire.
Atlantis, Lost Empire.
Yeah, and did I say it was from 2001? I think I did.
Yes.
Anyway, okay.
Yes, you did.
I got to. So, here's the deal, guys.
Just to clarify for everyone, it was made in 2001.
So, just to clarify, this was one of the movies because Connor's on the spectrum, his youngest brother's on the spectrum, so there was a lot of movies that we watched in the house. Disney was a big thing in our house. Pixar became a big thing in our house.
DreamWorks too.
DreamWorks too. And so we watched lots of movies with the kids when they were growing up, and this was one of our favorites.
No,
and-
one of our favorites. It is our favorite.
No, I don't think it's I don't think it's our number one favorite. It's one of our top 5 or 10 because we watched tons. Remember, so I wouldn't. So it's a great movie, and we're gonna just talk about it for a while and try to convince you guys to watch it because I know that a bunch of folks that I've talked to about this, they haven't seen it. I don't know if they didn't
How
want.
could they not have? I mean,
Well,
it's amazing.
Different. They were at an age where they were too old to watch animated movies at that time, right? And they didn't have kids, because I'm older than they are. So they were in that. They were probably teenagers or whatever when I was having you guys, and so they weren't watching these kind of movies. Now they're starting to have
They were
babies
watching
and have
freaking
kids.
Die Hard and crap like that.
So anyway, so why don't you? Because we got you see our timer here. You see our timer.
Yeah.
We're running low. So, do you want me to talk about the plot real quick? And I'll just do a really brief, quick plot, and then we'll just talk about the movie.
Seeing as how you're better at summarizing, I say you do it.
Okay. So, it starts out really similar to Stargate. I didn't realize how similar it was to Stargate at the beginning until I watched it again. Because, in Stargate...
Oh my God. You're right.
Yeah, in Stargate, James Spader is this bumbling, archaeologist who's trying to convince
They even
people.
look the same.
Yeah, right. And convince people.
Long hair, glasses,
Yeah.
freaking canvas jacket.
Convince people
What the
of
heck?
all these theories, and they thought he was stupid and crazy and not smart, and they didn't ignore. They didn't pay any attention to him. Same thing happens here with Milo Thatch, who was voiced by Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox.
But then, so they basically fire him. He works in the boiler room. He tries to present to them more information about Atlantis again. They think he's silly because they think it's all a myth. He basically quits his job because they won't support him. And then some lady picks him up in a car, just like in the rain, by the way, picks him up in a car in the rain, just like Stargate. I just thought about that too. Oh my gosh.
She was actually in his apartment.
Oh, that's right. But he had been in a car and there was
They
rain.
drove
That's right,
in the
that's right.
rain
They
to,
drove. That's right. You're right.
To
right.
Whitmore.
So they go to. So she takes him to some mansion to some old guy who happens to be best friends. He was best friends with
Thaddeus Whitmore.
best friends with Milo's grandfather, who had also been obsessed with Atlantis. And supposedly there was this book called the
Shepherd's Journal.
The Shepherd's Journal that told you how to get to Atlantis, and Whitmore had it, and gave it to Milo, and he had assembled this team of like former military people and all this weird ragtag group of people to go on this expedition to find Atlantis. They go through all kinds of stuff. They actually find Atlantis, and there's still people living there.
And there's this whole ecosystem and everything.
They have a whole ecosystem. There's something called the Heart of Atlantis, and it's some kind of crystal power source. And
bullcrap science magic.
Bullcrap science magic. That's right. I forgot about bullcrap science magic. That was one of our former episodes. Bullcrap science magic.
That was one of our very first episodes.
That was back. Was that Star Trek that we talked about bullcrap science magic?
Yes.
Okay. So
bullcrap science magic.
So they go on this, and then it turns out that he's there to study and learn about the culture. Meets these people, and then the guy that's running the expedition, Rourke, turns out he's a mercenary, and they're all in it just to get money. So they go and try to steal this crystal to make money. And Milo tries to stop them.
And sell it to the Kaiser.
Right.
Have I left anything out?
Okay, so they go through this struggle.
Well, you did toss it down that hole and set the whole camp on fire.
They go to through this struggle to try to save Atlantis. Milo does, with Kida, who is the young woman who is the daughter of the emperor of Atlantis.
Princess.
She's the princess.
She's a princess.
To save
Disney princess.
To save Atlantis. They go through all this kind of stuff. And of course, it's a Disney movie, so they save the day, and he gets the girl. Who happens to be a princess. Nobody ever talk when they talk about Disney princesses. Nobody ever talks about her. You ever noticed? She's never included in that little list of all the Disney princesses.
That's because at the time Disney princesses were still very sexist. You know, prim proper women.
But still,
Snow White.
Even when they do that kind of stuff now, and they have them, they did some movie recently where they were all together, like teenage girls hanging out together. She wasn't part of it, you know. So
it's because a lot of people forgot about Atlantis. You know, it's kind of a lost gem.
So
kind of like
it is. I really think it is. Yeah, I think that's another good one. So
I love that one.
So typical
Robert
Disney
Williams
movie.
as freaking multi-personality bat. That's all. I love it.
You sure he's a bat or a chicken?
That's it.
So so that's the basic premise of the movie. They find Atlantis. Turns out the guys that go with him to find Atlantis are really just there to steal stuff and grave rob, so to speak, right? Yeah. Coming full circle. And he wants to save the day. He ends up doing it. And a lot of the people that were there just for the money, I'm going to say money.
Money. I'm going to say money.
They end up having a change of heart, and they fight to save Atlantis with him, right? And they do.
I mean, they gotta because
I know
a bunch of them are freaking awesome.
So that's the case. That's the storyline. They save the day. They save Atlantis. They keep it a secret to protect their society and protect their culture and to protect the people there, so that they don't get run over with people trying to steal stuff.
Cookie has a hard time wrapping his head around it, though.
Yeah. So so that's the premise of the movie, right? We got plenty of time. Let's talk about how much we love this movie. So do you want to start? Or do you
I love this movie.
Okay.
I mean, I love this movie. It is still in my top 5 favorite animated movies of all time.
I mean, it's 20 years old, man, and it's a stylized animation too. You know, it's not like Beauty and the Beast where this very flowing. It's kind of a squared edges, hard,
it's a rougher,
chiseled,
more angular kind of
angular.
But it works.
That's the word I was looking for. Was angular. Yes, yeah, it was great. I mean, the animation was great. The colors really popped. It was a really colorful movie.
There's something I noticed. I noticed. The people from the surface were drawn more angular, but everyone from Atlantis was more smoother and rounder. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I will have to go back and watch it again and see that.
it's a clear difference. Obviously, the females were more smoothly figured, but the ones on the surface were still
Well
kind
put.
of angular and sharp in a way. Hey,
Yeah.
kind of like Audrey, yeah, kind of like Miss Packer, or
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
but then everyone in Atlantis was drawn more smooth, more rounded in a way.
I think you're right.
Even
I
the
have to go back and
males.
I have to go back and look at that. So, um,
I think they did that to help better show the difference and the diversity between these two cultures, but because basically everyone in Atlantis had lived underground for thousands of years, alive for thousands of years. I mean, freaking Kira is 10,000 years
She's-
old, and she looks good for her age, though.
8,000. 8,000. Yeah, 8,000 years old. So
I was close enough.
So what else did you like about this movie? Because I got a lot of stuff that I loved about this movie, and I can't think of anything I didn't like about this movie, actually.
Oh man. First off, the one-liners and the dialogue between characters. That is something we as the McKay clan love to death. I mean, even to this day, randomly, if someone just exactly,
You sat in the dirt, didn't you?
there, didn't you?
We still say that. We just said that the other day with me and your mom and Luke were sitting around and something happened and one of us went, "You sat in the dirt, didn't you?"
What did I tell you about playing nice with the other kids? Back creature, back from the pit from which you came. Name sweet, Joshua Sweet.
So, you see what happens? And I know Ashley's not in here right now, but when she watches this later, when she listens, she'll go, they just kind of go off on this language that we don't know because you haven't seen the movie. You really need to see the movie. So, and I'll talk more specific about some things that I like, but tell me more about what was good about this movie for you, because I had some things about the movie that I loved. And
The
some
voice
things...
acting, mainly for one. The voice acting in this movie I loved to because every character was unique. You could feel that every single character was played.
Yeah, nobody duplicated
best of their
voices, right?
ability.
Yeah, nobody duplicated voices. And just to give you an idea of, and that was something that I was going to mention, was the voice cast for this movie. So check this out, guys. So Michael J. Fox played. He played Milo. He was the main character. Claudia Christian played Helga. She's in Babylon 5. People would know her from Babylon 5. James Garner played Rourke. Rockford Files. James Garner played Rourke. John Mahoney played Preston Whitmore. John Mahoney, who is the dad in Frasier. That's Dad.
Yeah,
that
guy.
Mr. Whitmore.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah.
I knew he sounded familiar. I couldn't place it. Oh my gosh, I love this character even more now.
Leonard Nimoy was the Atlantean king. I didn't even catch that one.
So Spock was the oh my god.
Yeah. Okay, wait. Mr. Harcourt? You remember Mr. Harcourt? That was David Ogden Steers. That was Winchester from MASH. Cree Summer, who was in A Different World way back in the day. She played Princess Kida. Jim Verne. Know what I mean, Verne? All the Verne movies.
Verne.
That was Cookie.
Really? That guy was Cookie?
Oh, yeah, you could tell that was Cookie. It was really easy. So the voice cast was fantastic. So I completely agree with you. And I think Michael J. Fox was
Sweet.
Sweet was a guy named Phil Morris. And I recognize the name, but I don't know the stuff. I don't know what stuff he's been in before.
What about Audrey?
Audrey was played by Jacqueline Obradors. I don't know her.
And then I'm blanking on his name. Bomb guy. I'm blanking on his name.
Moliere. He was played by some guy named
the bomb guy.
Oh, the bomb guy. Vinny.
Vinny.
Vinny was played by Don Novello. Yeah. So.
Hey, look, I made a bridge. Something like what? 10 seconds. 11 tops.
Okay. Hold on. Yeah,
What?
I thought so. Okay.
What?
So
Don't leave me hanging.
Don Novello And this is, and I was, because I was looking, the picture that I see on IMDb, it's a more current picture, so he's older looking. He's Father Guido Sarducci from Saturday Night, from like the '70s Saturday Night Live cast. I mean, he wasn't on Saturday Night Live, but he played a recurring character called Father Guido Sarducci back in the '70s. I knew that was him because I recognized his voice. And so, but when I saw his picture here, and I didn't recognize him, but then when I went and looked at the IMDb about other things he's done, it brings up Father Guido Sarducci. So all the older folks that watch the old school Saturday Night Live, you know who I'm talking about. So the voice cast was fantastic, and I think all the voices perfectly fit the characters that they were playing. I don't think that I can't think of another person in 2001 that could have done that voice for Milo as well as Michael J. Fox did. Today, if that movie was done today, I think Tom Holland would have been great in that character.
Tom Holland
would have played that well, but of course in 2001, he may have been alive. I don't know. If he was probably a baby at that point, he was probably watching the movie.
He was like,
So those were.
I could see Jennifer Lawrence being Audrey.
Yeah, but Audrey was a Hispanic character, and so then you're kind of getting into some cultural appropriation. So I don't think so. Rosie
Selena Gomez,
maybe, but I think Rosie Perez would have done her well. She would have played that character very well. She does. She does that voice very well. Yes.
Betty White as Packer.
She doesn't have a raspy enough voice. I know who this lady is that played Packer. She was on an old 70s sitcom that I used to watch.
Golden Girls?
No, that was Betty White. Duh. So anyway, yes, I agree that the voice cast was fantastic, and it was and the cast, not only were they good, they were perfectly cast for their characters. So I thought that was great. Yeah. All right, so anything else?
The dialogue specifically,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they everyone had amazing lines that stick with you, and it's not really the monologues, it's the quippy comedy type stuff,
Yeah, the
like,
dialogue was great.
Like
I
the
thought
campfire scene.
Yeah, I thought the dialogue was
money,
really good.
Money. I'm gonna say money.
Money.
Our family still does that line,
Mm-hmm.
and randomly someone in the house will just say money, and then it'll just keep on going around the family until someone says, "I'm gonna say money."
Money. So, and that's something that I want to talk about one of the reasons why I loved watching this movie so much in a minute. But I thought that the dialogue was great, that the interaction between the characters was really good. It was just, like you said, it was very quippy. It was very quick. And everybody's personalities were so unique. But you could tell it was interesting because they were all so different. But they had done, you didn't get that history, but they had done so much in the past, right, together, that they were a close-knit group, right?
And so this new scrawny Weasley looking guy just kind of pops in, and suddenly he's a leader. It just kind of
definitely
throws him for a loop. It makes him kind of,
Well, he was definitely treated as an outsider. He was definitely treated as an outsider at the beginning. That was definitely true. So, but
you'll disallow the doubt. I beg your pardon. You've deserved the doubt.
Okay, this
Spain. Dang it! What's I hate.
Moving on. We're not.
It's
not. I know, buddy. That's got to be super frustrating. I get that, especially when you want to do
the
lines.
Line.
Right. I know.
It gets caught in my throat.
Yeah. I thought that the relationship between Keita and her dad was great. I thought that she just loved him so much and cared for him so much. Something else that I thought was great. At the beginning, which was like thousands of years ago, when Atlantis disappeared because of the flood, everything that happened to it in that day, her mom, the way it worked with this crystal thing was that the crystal would select somebody who they deemed to be worthy to protect the power of the crystal and basically turn the person into the crystal. And so when she was a little bit, Keita was a little girl, that happened to her mom, and her mom is what saved Atlantis at the time. Okay, and as her mom is being pulled up and floating up in the air in this trance kind of thing, she's holding Kita's hand, right? And as she's holding Kita's
And she's
hand,
holding a bracelet.
her Kita's bracelet that she was wearing slips off into her mom's hand and it disappears, right? And at the end, when it's Kita's turn to be the protector, and she goes up and takes over everything and comes back, she has her bracelet in her hand. You know, so her mom was still there, present inside that crystal. Her essence was, and gave her that back to say, "Hey, I still love you, and I'm still here." You know, that was just, those kind of things are just kind of cool to me.
Oh, Dad.
Yes.
But did you notice something about the king? Did you notice his eyes?
Yeah, they didn't have any. They were just kind of white, blank.
Yeah. Yes, but in the beginning of the movie, he his eyes were normal.
Mm-hmm.
There's a theory that that King, I think it's King Leonidas. I think that's his name.
Anyway, go ahead.
There's a theory that that the king basically lost his eyesight by looking at the crystal as it went full on supernova.
Maybe. Who knows?
I mean, when you think about it, that's basically like looking at the sun for an extended period of time, and it's a magical sun. So
Yeah.
so maybe looking at that did cause his eyes to basically degrade entirely, because when you think about it, if 8,000 years went by, and Kita basically went from looking 5 years old to maybe about 22.
Yeah.
17 years, that's not really a lot of time. Time relatively for someone's eyes to degrade that much, or for someone to age that much.
Sure, I get that.
Given the king, because the king looked young in the beginning of the movie, you know.
Yeah. So,
that's just a theory.
Is there anything else that you wanted to say about the movie before I say a few things?
The scenes and the let's see, more specifically the landscaping of it. Every single scene, every single montage and scene was beautiful.
It was a very brightly colored movie. I really like that. I like the
personally
movie.
My favorite scene that showed the most brightness and diversity was the Leviathan scene. I loved that scene
because it was dark with the really bright explosions. Really gave you some contrast. Yeah, and
the bright mechanical redness of his eyes.
And I like the color palette that they used for this movie. It was very colorful, but it wasn't overpowering. Like, for example, another movie that we almost watched, Emperor's New Groove, which is another one of our favorites, is clearly oversaturatedly colorful, right? I mean,
classic Disney oversaturation. Yes.
Yeah. So, but this one I thought was pretty appropriate. It was darker when it needs to be.
That
darker,
one was also very angular. Now,
probably animated, probably drawn by the same team, I would guess. Pretty similar, because they're because their fingers are very squared off, very very angular characters. Yeah. So
yeah, I did not realize that until just now.
So there was so much about this movie that I liked. I mean, I like Disney movies because they're pretty, even though they're pretty predictable. That you're not going to have this harsh ending. You're not going to have like an MCU ending where half of the superheroes are gone at the end of.
No one's going to be snapped out of existence. Oh, except for Roar.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, but anyway, so I like that.
It's more of an explosion, though.
Yeah. And again, I can't say enough about the voice acting. We've seen some other ones that the movies are pretty good, but the voice acting is not great. Or the choices they used for the actors to do the voices were not great. But this was just a really great mix. I thought it was a great story because it played into Milo's relationship with his grandfather. It played into Milo's relationship with Mr. Whitmore because of his relationship with his grandfather. It showed some redemption on his part with the team, showed some redemption on their part in their change of heart to protect these people instead of just going after just the money kind of thing. So I liked all of that. I mean, so if you've never seen this movie, and especially if you have kids and you watch movies with kids, you definitely should watch this movie. Don't throw it away just because it's a 20-year-old animated movie. It's fantastic. Outside of the movie, and I told your mom this when I was watching it, I got emotional 2 or 3 times. I got teary-eyed watching this movie 2 or 3 times because I was sitting on the couch by myself watching this movie, and it kept giving me flashbacks of sitting on the couch with all 3 of my sons all snuggled up watching this movie years ago. And it just made me miss my kids when they were kids. I mean, I love my kids now as adults, but there's something about being able to curl up on the floor, making a pallet on the floor, and watching movies with your kids. And so it was a much more emotional experience for me watching this movie than I expected. And that's something that I was saying to Ashley last week when we were talking about Demolition Man and this movie, and that she hadn't seen this movie, and that they were going to try to limit any kind of TV or movies or stuff with Tater Tot, their little 1-year-old or almost 1-year-old. And I completely get that, and that makes sense, and that's a great thing to do. But I told her, I said, there's going to be memories that are created whenever you do sit down and watch movies with your kids. There's going to be memories that are created that you're never going to lose, you know? We've already mentioned 3 or 4 lines from this movie, lines from other movies, from Emperor's New Groove, from, other movies. But we've got specific movies that we have a lot of lines that we repeat, and those are that's part of our family history, and I wouldn't give that up for anything. So I kind of did a little bit of the old dad, kind of sitting there by myself, kind of happy sad while I'm watching this movie. So don't make me do that again. That was not that was fun but not fun.
Who knows, Dad? Who knows, Dad? Maybe in a couple of years you'll be sitting there again with a couple of smaller people.
Yeah, at least 3 or 4 years from now, after folks have been married for a while. Sure. Yeah, there you go.
Well, Nikki still wants to finish her college stuff,
Oh, and that makes
she
sense.
Hates being a frickin'
that makes absolute sense. And she should. That's smart. She's smart for doing that. Okay, so don't.
I'm not smart.
You are smart. You don't access your smarts very often. You are smart. You just choose to be impulsive, right? There's a difference.
Their password are protected, and I forgot the password.
So dude, anyway,
I've tried resetting it, but it asks for the previous password to get a new password, and it's like how it's like. But I don't remember the old password, so how's that going to get a new password if I have to remember the old password? Okay, it makes my brain hurt.
Speaking of being impulsive and
passwords?
Speaking of being smart but not using that smarts because you get impulsive and don't think long term, I had that same trouble. You got 2 weeks left if you want to do a short story for Misspelled for Legion of Dorks short story project. I'm about halfway through mine.
I've given up on that.
Okay, I'm about halfway through mine. I've got a couple of days off next week and not a lot going on at work next week. So I've made a commitment. I want to get it knocked out next week and get it finished. I'm kind of, like I said, I'm about halfway through, and I'm at the point where I've got like the pivotal action scene. It's not really an action scene, but it's where something really important happens.
Conflict.
And then it goes to the resolution from there. And I'm just not sure exactly how I want to write it. And I can
help.
And I'm not confident. I'm not confident in this because this is not something that I've done before. I really want to, but I've never done it before. You've had years of practicing writing short stories and writing all the stuff that you do, and so I'm having to deal with a little bit of confidence issues to get me motivated to jump in and finish it. And Kelly was saying they've already gotten over 30 submissions for this thing, so I'm sitting there going, 30 submissions for
Kelly?
Kelly in the Discord, who is the author?
I thought it was Ashley.
No, Ashley is one of the authors. Kelly is the one that's actually the actual author that's putting
Oh.
together the anthology,
Okay.
and she's the one that does it, and she's editor, and so she edits the short stories and everything. So, and we have hit our hour. Okay, so it's time to start shutting this sucker down. So anyway, so that's made me even more apprehensive because she's already gotten 30 submissions. I'm a first-time short story writer, so
Yeah.
it's just made me not very confident. But I'm going to plug through and I'm going to get it through at least to get feedback on it. You know, kind of like you did with your novel that you wrote. You know, so all right, so we've hit our hour. We're going to go just a few minutes over to finish this sucker up and roll for our next movie and get out of here and move on and have the rest of our Friday nights. And it probably helped us stay on track because nobody showed up to chat with us tonight. So it made it easier to not get distracted like we usually do when there's a room full of folks.
That's why they've been going longer is because we've been having people talk to us. That's why.
It went longer last week because instead of having one geek question, we basically had 10. When we're playing Would You Rather, we basically had 10 geek questions last week. That's what made it go so long.
I
Okay.
stand by that decision. It was a good decision. It was fun.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. It just made for a really long episode. All right, so for those who may be watching this on YouTube or listening to us for the first time, this thing we called Roll for Credits, we do a random movie. The last 2 weeks, we picked a movie specifically because one, we had people asking us to watch Demolition Man, and then Connor wanted, since I picked that one, Connor wanted to pick Atlantis this week. But what we typically do is we literally roll Dragon Dice to randomly pick a movie from one of the streaming services that we watch. So we choose from
D&D dice.
Yeah. So we choose from either Amazon Prime, Netflix, or Hulu. So we roll to see where we land there. And once we decide the service that we're doing, then we roll a 10-sided dice to figure out the genre that we're going to pick from. And then we roll a 100-sided die to pick a movie in that list. And so we literally pick a random movie. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to roll the dice here and see what we get. All right. So.
All right.
And I like to roll. I only need to roll one at a time, but I like to roll all of them just because I like the way it sounds. So I got a 7.
Come on, Snake Eyes.
So that would be Amazon. All right.
Oh,
so
no.
We're getting something off Amazon. 10-sided dice
I hate
here.
Amazon. They never have anything good.
And then I rolled a 9, which is the fantasy category in Amazon. That's what we've identified. So we're going to watch a fantasy movie from Amazon. And now I'm going to roll my percentage dice.
Is it weird I'm hoping for Lord of the Rings?
No, I would watch that any day. So, and I rolled a 26. So I want to pull up the Amazon Prime list. I've already got the Amazon list pulled up. I'll go to fantasy and I'll go to the 26th movie in the list of fantasy movies on Amazon Prime, and then I'll tell you guys what we're gonna get. So y'all just hold tight. All right, so this looks interesting. Okay, we are going to watch a movie from it's fairly new, 2017, and it's called Along with the Gods.
What?
Along with the Gods, the Two Worlds.
Okay.
It's a Japanese. I think it's Japanese.
It sounds more like a documentary.
No, Along with the Gods, the Two Worlds. I'm going to pull it up on IMDb on my phone over here. So let me just pull that up and I'll give you some details on it. So, all right. So yeah, it's 2017. It's a long movie. It's 2 hours and 19 minutes long. And it says, after a heroic death, a firefighter navigates the afterlife with the help of 3 guides. And it 7.3 out of 10 is the average rating for it, so it's gotten good reviews, fairly good.
Okay.
And it is only in a foreign language with subtitles, so it's kind of like watching anime for you. So there is
it's
no
not
English.
bad.
There is no English dub, but it's a
Okay,
fantasy movie.
I like both.
It's a fantasy movie, and the pictures that I'm seeing look really kind of freaky and weird. Not like horror movie, just kind of unusual. So it looks like it might be a pretty interesting movie. So it's a foreign film.
Wonderland weird or Acid Trip weird.
I just it's like a fantasy kind of movie. I mean, pull it up on when we get offline, pull it up and watch the trailer. That's what I'm going to do. And I mean, I'm trying to see if I see anything interesting about the movie. I should figure out how to pull up the trailer here and show it. Although I don't know. I mean, we might get in trouble for showing trailers here, so I probably shouldn't do that.
I think so too. Yeah.
But it looks like he was a firefighter. Looks like he died fighting a fire, and then he's kind of in the afterlife, and somebody's kind of walking him through the afterlife. So I'm sure there's gonna be some weird battles and stuff going on or something. So it looks really interesting, and it's definitely kind of different. It's not like you're Demolition Man or Atlantis.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting, and we found just doing this, we found some diamonds in the
Good
rough,
movies.
right? We found some good movies. We found some really
Like Gora.
We found some really big dogs. Oh, and speaking of Gora was the first movie that we ever reviewed on the very first episode of Gene Pool Variety Hour, and our 50th episode is coming up soon because we're hitting 46 this week. So our 50th episode is coming up soon. And we're thinking about talking about Gora again for the 50th episode. And what we would like to do, if we can figure out a way to do this, is to have a watch party if anybody wants to join us, and we can all watch it together online. It's on Netflix. Now, on Twitch, if the movie's on Amazon Prime, we can actually do a watch party on Twitch. Can't do that with Netflix. So we have to do it. There's like little web things that you can put in your Chrome browser where you can do that kind of stuff. So we might try to do that if folks would be interested. If not, maybe just you and I'll do it. We'll watch the movie together before we talk about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so guys, that's it. We're just a little bit over an hour. I'm definitely going to keep the timer, although I wish I could make it a little bit more customizable so I could put an hour and 15 on there. But anyway, an hour is fine. That really helped us stay on track. That's all I've got. And I don't know if Connor's got anything else he wants to add, but I think we're done, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So, guys, everybody, thanks for listening. Come back and listen to us next week. We do this every Friday night on Twitch at 8 o'clock. And then we throw the podcast up on Monday, the following Monday. And we love to have folks come in here and chat with us. But if not, then I get to talk to my son about nerdy stuff. So it's a win-win anyway. So thanks for watching, guys. And until next time.
Remember,
Bathe in the meat chunks.
stay nerdy, my friends.
You do realize that they couldn't understand a word you said with that mask on, right?
I don't care. It was so funny.
Oh, man. You are definitely the Costello, and I'm just Abbott. I'm the straight guy to you.
Would you have it any other way, Dad?
No, I wouldn't. Y'all have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching.
Peace.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.